All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Well, I should probably just say gentlemen. Gentlemen, we are back. It is day 3 Hi-Fi Summit. We've got Sonus Faber in the house. We've got Paolo, Joshua, and Livio. What is up, gentlemen? How you guys doing?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having
Very
us.
good. Thank you.
And Paolo and Livio are coming in from Italy. So we want to say thank you guys so much for doing that. I know it's nighttime there. So yeah, let's get it started. Whatever you guys want to do.
And real quick, I just would like to add that I think I got a message saying that I got the titles mixed up on the thumbnail. So why don't you go ahead and correct me on that? I think I got the, as far as like who works where and stuff like that. So I think I just looked
Paolo,
it up on LinkedIn.
Why don't you start? Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then Livio, you can follow.
There you go.
Absolutely. Well, I am Paolo Tezzon. I am with the company since 15 years now. I entered with a stage, and then I spent a couple of years in the technical department, but I was anyway helping out the research and development manager at the time, which was our founder. And I spent the remaining 13 years leading the research and development department for the company. And just at the beginning of this year, I moved in a different position after a very long run, and now I am the brand ambassador for Sonus faber.
Very cool.
I'm Livio Cucuzza. I'm in charge of industrial design. So I am the toy guy, as you can see in the.
There you go.
I'm with the company from 2010. So starting from Amati Futura and then AIDA. That was my first 2 projects for the company.
Very cool. Very cool. And Joshua, what do you do for Sonus faber? Weren't you here with McIntosh earlier?
Yeah, so I work for McIntosh Group, so I get the luxury of representing all the brands.
There you go.
That means McIntosh Labs, Audio Research, Sonus faber, and then Smico Audio. All of our brands under Smico Audio as well. So I work in New York City. That's where I'm based right now, and I work out of the New York City World of McIntosh townhouse, where it's a beautiful showroom and experience center for all of our brands. So that's more or less what I do. And then I get to do fun stuff like this. Awesome. So guys, you got a lot to talk about. Why don't you guys go ahead and kick it off? Who would like to go first?
Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Now
I got a beer.
Now it's
time. The party can start. Here we go.
All right, Livio, why don't you go ahead and start with what you would like to talk about, with what you do and your design process.
So yeah, what I'm doing in the company is basically what I dreamed to do for my entire life. Designing toys was always my passion. And I basically grew up in a family of hi-fi dealers. Let me say, my father was a dealer. We had a shop in Sicily back in the 80s and 90s. So I grew up surrounded by hi-fi gears. So my 2 passion was design and hi-fi, and now I'm in charge of the industrial design for probably the best group of brands of hi-fi in the world. So not bad.
Not a bad job.
So Livio, I know that when a big part of your job is envisioning different types of designs and how they become an idea to an actual product that somebody can put into their home. Can you kind of walk us through the process of that and what that looks like for you when you're actually thinking about a new product and a new project?
Yeah, I have to say that as every creative kind of action, there is not a fixed process, but of course we have some rules. Starting at the start of a new idea in the company can happen in 2 different ways. We can have the idea and show to the board and see the reaction and try to promote our idea and make it real. Or we can have a direct input from the board The board of each company is composed by different kind of person, sales guys, the CEO, of course, marketing, and production, and they all gives input to us, and then we generate a sort of panel of different ideas, and then we select the best one all together. Of course, we have several steps to arrive to the group of ideas. We create mood boards. We start from creating the right mood around the idea, and then we go deeper and deeper with sketches, 3D drawings, prototypes, everything that help us to envision the product we want to create.
So that's really cool, and it's a good bit of information for a lot of the folks that are tuning in. So, do you have some examples of those mood boards, Livio?
Sure. I selected.
I think it'd be really interesting for folks at home to be able to see what some of those look like. So some of the ideas, the elements, the textures, different other inspirations that then inspire you with your design process.
Sure. Yep. I prepared this presentation. This is an internal presentation, so it's not exactly the things that you can see outside of the design lab. This was the launch of the Homage tradition. The Homage series for Sonus faber is a very important series of loudspeakers, a very important collection of loudspeakers, composed by originally just the Guarneri and the Amati, and then the family grew up with different models, and the Guarneri itself, the little monitor, was the first lute shape speaker on the market. So Sonus faber was the very first company to introduce this lute curved body design. So when we usually do an update to an existing family, we start with some history, because it's especially with our brand that are full of history, like Sonus faber, McIntosh, and Audio Research, of course, are. It's really important to deeply understand the history of the brand before to create anything new. This was the original Amati, for example, and this was the original family with the Amati, the Guarneri, and then the Guarneri Memento that followed that. This was a set of sketches of the Amati Futura and the Guarneri Evolution, my very first project I did together with Paolo. And this was the final result. So, for example, for the actual Homage tradition, we used a lot of inspiration from the boat design, and especially from the Riva boats that are pretty famous around the world, and they are, a very important design icon for the Italian design. So we decided to use their imaginary to create our line of loudspeaker. Also because there are common points between the two brands. Everything is made in Italy for Riva. They still do both partially in wood. Everything is handcrafted. So we had a lot of similarity, and we wanted to use that image. This was a very simple image that show how the shape of the lute was changing for this project. So we started from the left with the classic lute shape of the Amati Futura. Then we had the Lilium shape that was double curvature, more articulated, more complex, and then with the fusion of the two shapes, we create the actual shape of the Homage tradition line. That it's a Still a kind of lute, but it's more complicated because there are two curves in the shape. Again, this was a mood board. This is a classic mood board we use to identify the kind of style we want to apply to the speaker, to the product. And this mood board here is more related to material and finish, so CMF, how the product will look like. So which are the matching elements that we want to use, like this kind of aluminum with this kind of leather, and the beautiful Benge finish that we introduced with this line of loudspeaker. A little bit of architectural similarity between speakers and boats, and then the transition between the Amati Futura on the left and the Amati Homage tradition on the right. And then the final product that it's a little bit different from the one you can find now in the shop, because of course this was a rendering, but it's pretty there. I mean, the speaker, it's basically that. And then we had also the little son, the Guarneri, that this is interesting. At that time was equipped with a stand that was really close to the original homage Guarneri stand. Then we changed with a more let me say technical carbon fiber one in the last steps of the process. So this is pretty a quick overview of how we work with company presentation and a little bit of our process.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, Livio, it's always like, even I work in the group, and when I see these types of projects and the mood boards, I mean, I still get really, really excited to see how it actually comes together into a real product.
I just had goosebumps, like looking through that stuff. Like the designs are fantastic. I mean, the thought just entered my head. Like, after all this nonsense is done with the whole, coronavirus, like, I'm coming to Italy to get a factory tour, like, for real. Maybe
we're going to have some really beautiful new sound rooms available too, that we're working on right now. So by that time, you'll have a really good opportunity to get a great demonstration of our products.
Joe, that sounds like a daily hi-fi trip to me, man.
There you go.
I'm paying for that.
Okay. Maybe we can time it with a Munich hi-fi show,
There
maybe
you
somewhere
go.
around there. I don't
Yeah.
know. Got my wheels spinning because man,
That'd be dope.
they're
Make it
beautiful.
happen. Man, those are beautiful.
Literally
Livio.
some of the most gorgeous speakers literally on the market.
Oh,
I mean,
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
So, I mean, with that being said, seeing the design side of things and how that comes together from an industrial design standpoint, Paolo, I would love to talk to you about you working on that project with the Homage series, and how you take Livio's the industrial design and the vision that we have on that element, and then how you incorporated the electroacoustic design and how to make everything work within that same in that same parameter of the design.
Well, the reality is that there's a beginning. There's a very special moment in the beginning where and when we share the concept for what it is. So basically, when Livio started doing the job you just seen on his presentation with the moods, trying to figuring out, we have a very basic sharing of certain important things which are more or less related to the dimension ratio of the loudspeaker system. And then basically there are sort of a couple of parallel paths going on at the same time. And mine is about looking for the right transducers. If we already have in our transducers portfolio something which is fitting the need of that very specific project or of that very specific collection, or and that was not the case. For example, we needed to design everything from scratch, basically, and so starts a process which is about developing the transducer. And this process is using a lot of tools. You have electroacoustic measurements. You have a beautiful tool, which is our anechoic chamber, where we have some sort of, we always develop speakers using some cabinets right from the start. So we have some sort of sound-like prototype almost from the beginning. And we keep refining the transducers. And when they're ready, hopefully also Livio's process is already done. And another process started over, which is the mechanical engineering. And when also the mechanical engineering is done, there's this beautiful point of the two things merging together, the transducers development job executed, and also the first mechanical prototype, which is coherent with the design sketches. And we put everything together and we start to make it work. Of course, there are several different...
And usually they don't work together.
Yeah, sometimes not. And that was a lot of fun. This is when most of the fun came out during the processes, obviously. But then, you know, I'm jumping through several different small stages, but over the time we learn also to, you know, have a very reliable prediction of what was supposed to happen. And, you know, it is beautiful when simulations and reality, they don't perfectly match, because this is when something special about our brand comes playing a role, which is the human component. And because we strongly believe, and we experience so many times, this is why we grow such a belief, that whatever you can predict, whatever you can simulate, and you put it together, it's not perfectly working. It needs some human component. It needs some fine-tuning, and it needs some iteration, which is not related to things happening in a mechanical fashion, so to say. Basically, you have to deal with a problem, and you have to figure out how to make it work. This is where the real fun comes, actually.
Agreed. So, I mean, it's super fascinating when you say the human component, because the one thing that I always hear, and the one thing that drew me to Sonus faber, even before I worked for this group, it's the emotional connection that these speakers can convey. And, you know, there's unique properties to how we design the speakers, from, like you said, the electroacoustic engineering, it's the mechanical engineering, it's the transducers that we design, the amount of research and development that we put into these products. Can you talk about some of the unique technologies that we implement to achieve the overall result? So talking about maybe the damped apex dome tweeter, some of the other things that we really focus on for that connection.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let me first, because you know, this is a complicated question and it requires sort of a complicated answers.
Yeah.
At the same time, you know, during those days when I was looking at the advertising about this seminar, and it was described as, you know, the quest to perfection, I tried to figure out the meaning of something like that, of such a statement.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up visualizing sort of the best storytelling I can come up with in order to describe which is our own quest. First of all, when I think about perfection, I think about to a mountain, to a very big mountain. And I visualize also the peak of this mountain as obscured by clouds, so to say. You know, when the mountain is so big, the peak, the very top, you really can't see because there's clouds over there. And that peak that you can't see is my idea of perfection. Something that you know is there, but you really can never get over there.
It's kind of like a summit.
Yeah.
The top.
Yeah. And this is the interesting part. You can start climbing that mountain from many different places.
Mm-hmm.
And the starting point is sort of defining right from the start your path to the peak that you will never gonna reach. But while going on into this path, you can sort of approximate your own possible perfection.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the perfect example to describe what happened to us with one of our trademark technologies, which is the DAD, the Damped Apex Dome Tweeter. It is the perfect example of such a vision and such a process. If you allow me to share the screen.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. The DAD tweeter basically is the result of a path we walked through. And in the very beginning of the company, in its earliest days, the sort of tweeter we were using was based on a very particular diaphragm, which is silk soft hand-coated diaphragm. And this design, this tweeter, was capable of providing a beautiful effect, and it had a very good property, which was about what you call the off-axis response. You can tell it is the blue frequency response. You can tell from the graph in the presentation. And it's about taking a measurement, staying not in the perfect axis of the tweeter, but staying 30 degrees on the left, 30 degrees on the right, 45 degrees, whatever. And when you have good results there, what happens is that you have the ability of the speaker to disappear, simply because the speaker is introducing a lot of energy in the high frequency. Such a design also had a weakness, which is displayed by the red frequency response. The weakness is that given the soft nature of the material, the apex of the dome has the tendency to behave in antiphase with the other surfaces of the dome, and basically is what is ending up being a sort of an unwanted noise cancelling thing, if you will. So basically, such a design is not able to perfectly extend in the high frequency, and so it is lacking transparency, it is lacking precision. But on the other hand, it has this beautiful ability of making the speaker disappear, and so provide, in our opinion, a very good service to music. And this was our starting point. This is where we started in our sort of a path. And then in a certain moment, in order to try to improve, we changed into a different solution, and which was about using the same sort of material as a diaphragm, a totally different shape for the diaphragm. And what we achieved was that we found what we are looking for. We found the precision. We found the extension in the very high frequency. We found the high definition. But possibly, we lost a little bit of the magic, because after a while, we realized that this sort of high-frequency transducers diaphragm was not achieving off-axis what it was achieving the traditional soft dome we used in the beginning. And you can tell from the blue frequency response. So basically, this is the perfect situation which describes our quest to perfection. We really wanted to get the best of both worlds. We wanted to keep the precision we reached in the early 20s, in the last decade, but really we want also to get back the magic of the speaker disappearing from the soundstage and leaving space only to music. And we came up with a solution which was driven by this desire. And the solution is the DAD tweeter. Basically, it's about locally the intuition of understanding that locally dampening the apex of the dome allows to avoid the antiphase behavior of the dome. And so basically we are able to have all the magic, all the wonderful tone of an hand-coated silk soft dome diaphragm, but also we have the extension in the high frequencies of an high definition device. And yeah, basically, this is a beautiful example of how much need drove our path.
Mm-hmm.
That's gorgeous, man.
It's so funny. Like, you guys can talk about this stuff, and I've heard it a million times come out of your guys' mouths, and it just, I always get really excited. I always hear you guys talk about this stuff. It's always so cool to me. So yeah,
I have a question real quick.
Please.
Paolo, you get the designs from Livio, and with the shape of, you know, the speaker cabinets and stuff, do you guys have to fight different types of, like, you know, resonant frequencies inside there?
All the time.
All the time. All the time. Yeah, I'm a musician. I play guitar. I've been playing for, you know, a few decades, and, you know, every time I play a few things, yeah, my guitar's vibrating on me. So I would imagine, you know, like, what do you guys do? How do you counteract those kinds of situations?
Maybe I let Livio answer. What we do is basically we deal. You know, an electroacoustic design is always under certain respects a compromise, and this is unavoidable.
Gotcha.
So we try to stretch at the best possible dimension all the concepts which are involved in that specific design. And particularly when it comes to dimensions and resonance frequency, we are talking about the ability of certain design to extend or not extend in the bass, in the lowest frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we deal. I mean, certain dimensions are required. You can do certain things on the transducers, but there's a limit. And this is the point where the deals comes, and that's what we do, we deal.
No, let me say something about this. We have a very strong, let me say, manifesto in our company that was basically there from the beginning. We believe that natural materials give natural sound, and this is reflected also in the design. So natural shapes almost every time deliver better sound performance in a loudspeaker. So when we start with a new design and we basically took inspiration from the natural world that is always there, doing you know, this beautiful lute shape, double curvature shape like the Aida. There is a margin of mistake for sure. There is a margin of error. We can do, we can create something that doesn't perfectly work, but we start from something that it's already better than a classic squared cabinet. So it's starting from that. It's easier to prevent any kind of very bad situation, let me say. It's very often that a shape that we create is completely wrong. I mean, we need just small adjustment to make the shape working.
Very cool.
Man, we are getting a lot of people talking about the Aida. So with that being
it's
said,
all over the place, man.
Yeah, I mean, people are all over the Aida, which is awesome. But
yeah,
I mean, that was the Aida was a new project for the upgrade that we recently did. Was at end of 2017. So I mean, literally, other than the exterior, a few elements,
right?
The speaker is completely new from the inside.
Nice.
Completely different chamber cavities, crossover design, new transducers, neodymium magnets. There's a lot that went into that speaker, even though, you know, it still looks very much true to the Aida because it was a beautiful object to begin with. Why change something if it's a classic and it's beautiful? But I mean, you guys had to deal with that. So you were trying to keep things true, but the cabinet on the inside for Paolo and then Livio, you were trying to keep certain things on the design side the same. So can you guys talk about a bit of that process with that project, since everyone wants to talk about the Aida right now?
Well, let me say first of all that Aida was basically my first project for the company, so it's something
your first love.
Yeah,
it
that's
was
your baby.
my first love. It started with something really different, as Paolo knows, because the beginning of that process was a little bit strange, because the company was in a moment of changes. They were searching for something that really stand out from the competition. So nothing was easy, let me say. But AIDA was very important for me and for the company, because we learned a lot. I think Paolo will agree with that project, especially in cabinet design, in transducers. Everything was new, and so it's a sort of milestone for sure for me, for my career, for my life. So I'm glad that all the people are asking for AIDA.
Yeah.
Got lots of love in the comments.
It's a breathtaking speaker, and if you guys ever have an opportunity to visit a dealer and demo it, it's really a breathtaking and life-changing experience. It's a really wonderful sounding loudspeaker.
I like being able to see inside the cabinet there.
Yeah,
that's an image you usually don't get the opportunity to see from a manufacturer.
Yeah, all the transducers have their own cavity, as you guys can see there. So you have the mid-range tweeter, you have the 2 woofers. It's got the 12-inch sub on the bottom.
Handmade.
And it has an array of speakers on the back as well, as you can see there.
I didn't know that.
There's two damped apex dome tweeters.
Okay.
So there's the front, the primary, and then also there's the back. So there's two smaller kind of upper mid frequency transducers, and then you have the damped apex dome. And all those knobs that you see there, every single frequency is tunable. So it's based upon the space and the sort of experience that you want in the room.
So typically, do you send your engineers out there to kind of set these up in a home if a consumer wanted that?
Well, many times our dealers who are reference level dealers, they're selling a product such as this, they are trained by us. And that's something that we're going to talk about tomorrow with Will Klein.
Gotcha.
So we can jump a little bit deeper into kind of our master's process with speaker design for Sonus faber. So we do that same training with our dealers. Anybody buying any speakers, Sonus faber speakers at this level, then absolutely. We make sure that they are set up properly so you can extract the most from these speakers. But Paolo, that being said, why don't you talk to us a bit about the AIDA 2 project on your side of things, since we heard Livio's side?
Well, I believe that this is also the perfect example which allow us to confirm what Livio was saying before. You can tell there's a huge difference between the AIDA first generation and the second generation performance-wise. I would say it is almost night and day, but the cabinet and the overall design stayed almost untouched. And because it was good right from the start, it was so good. The general concept of the dual curvature side panel, which allows you to virtually erase any chance of standing waves inside of the cabinet, was such a good result. Of course, I would say that we went through a very fast and strong learning curve during the past 10 years when it comes to the performance. I mean, our knowledge grew so fast and so quickly. And basically, after a few years, we had the chance to really update the AIDA a lot with a displayment of what we are capable to provide as from the performance standpoint, from the music retention standpoint. And this is what happened. The whole volume was reanalyzed. The distribution of the inner chambers were totally rearranged completely from the scratch. New ideas in terms of tuning frequencies. This is the maximum expression. The AIDA 2 is the maximum expression of a technology that we have in Sonus faber, which is called staggered low frequency technology. And basically, it is about having several bass drivers. Each of them is loaded in a separate enclosure. It has its own dedicated crossover network. and depending on the placement of those drivers in the space, they are managed amplitude-wise in a different way. So the subwoofer, obviously, which is the one most far away geographically from the mid-range, is shut it down extremely early. And then you have a couple of woofers on the front side, which are working together with the subwoofers, but as more as we move with the space, only the one close to the mid-range actually crosses over with the mid-range. All the others are shut down before. And this solution, which is very complicated, even to explain, you can tell, very, very challenging, also very expensive, I would say. You have to do something 3 times, whatever, crossover network. But it's paying off in terms of transparency, speed, articulation, ability to modulate every single nuance. Every time, I have to describe the effect of such a level of complications, is try to portray properly an upright bass player, feeling the wood, feeling the fingers, feeling the vibrations of the wood. And everything is involved in those drivers, which requires to be properly controlled. Not to mention that we have we improve at every level. Josh, you mentioned it is a Sonus faber speaker which is featuring only neodymium magnetic system. And that means the maximum amount of dynamic. You said that what we were able to reach with this rethinking was to really shake the listener, let you have also the power of music execution.
But the cool thing is with the AIDA project is that what we learn and what we invest in terms of research and design and what we discover from a mechanical and electrical design standpoint, but also from the industrial design, that trickles down to our products all the way down the family. So for instance, in the homage, the new Olympic Nova series, even the new Sonetto series. So all of these things we see trickle down technology, which is always fascinating to me.
The very first trickle down of AIDA was the Venere line. The shape, the overall shape of the AIDA was used in a simplified version on our very entry level line of loudspeaker.
It was that double curvature, and then we had so it's always an interesting process. But yeah, I think we're about 35 minutes in, and we're getting some comments.
What do you want to pull up here?
Yeah, well, one comment that I did see was already actually answered, and that was obviously about the industrial design, the acoustic design. So I think we for sure covered that. I mean, guys, let's go. Let's write
whatever you want to ask, you can ask now. I just like the way Livio says curved. Anytime he says that, I'm a happy man.
So we have one question that I think is interesting. So what Sonus faber product is recommended for a multi-channel audio theater? So first, I mean, that's the cool thing about a lot of our family of products is that we make a lot of different levels of speakers and center channels. And in some of our families, I'll call out the Olympic Nova, because we actually designed 2 different center channels for the Olympic Nova, depending on the size of the room, also what main speakers you decide to go with. We also created an on-wall speaker called the Nova Wall. So it depends honestly on the level that you're looking for in terms of performance and fidelity. But there's many families within our product range that you can build an amazing home theater experience, multi-channel, Dolby Atmos, whatever you want it to be, in terms of platform. But with that being said, you're still going to be able to have an amazing stereo music listening experience. It's a twofold, as an example. Guys, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, when it comes to multi-channel, we have the ability to provide, I would say, 3 different possible levels. But among these 3 possible levels, 2 have been designed really also focusing 1000%, so to say, and you mentioned the Olimpica Nova, focusing 1000% on the multi-channel environment. And some others can be used. I'm talking about the Homage Tradition line, and we have a center channel over there as well. So you have plenty of possibilities. Sonetto is being conceived to be the perfect solution also for multi-channel system. So it really depends the amount of quality you're looking for. We have plenty of different solutions. I would say that the Olimpica Nova is the most mature offer that we have in terms of multi-channel, because it's able to cover many different needs. You know, you have, as you mentioned, 2 different center channels. So depending on the room you're dealing with, you have a choice. We have a speaker which is extreme high quality, but it is hangable on the wall and it's pretty shallow design. And again, this is also a very nice option you want to take in account.
And of course, we have in-wall and in-ceiling speakers.
Of course.
Yeah, we also, recently we've also done architectural speakers, so in walls. So if you're looking to do a really beautiful Atmos cinema, obviously you can do in ceilings, but if you want to just do a true LCR, that's all in walls, we can do that as well. One thing I want to call out, because this is quick, how is your presence today in North America? Where can we see a demo? So if you want to experience a demo, go to sonusfaber.com and go to our dealer locator and then just plug in your zip code. But we have an amazing presence here in North America, so you should be able to find somewhere close where you can experience these.
He's in Arizona, so I'm sure.
There's some great dealers in Arizona for Sonus Faber, so you're not going to have a problem.
All right, let's get real here, real quick. Let me ask something just for me.
Sure.
So what's the least expensive Sonus Faber speaker that I could possibly get?
Right now, Sonetto 1.
Sonetto
So the Sonetto 1, it's a 2-way bookshelf, and I believe that guy in the United States retails for $8.99 for the pair in walnut, and also in a lacquered black. Yeah, so that's the least expensive.
Yeah, we could do that.
What would you What would you pair with the McIntosh MA352?
Because that's what Chandler's wanting to get in.
The 352 hauls serious ass, so you could literally. I would really go for the Olimpica Nova 2.
Don't tempt Techno Dad.
I mean, just Josh, right now. Wrap it up, send it on over.
Send it in a package.
A little care package for Techno Dad.
Yeah. I'll make sure I'm home.
Be sure to share the love now. Come on.
Yeah. All right.
No, but for real, the speakers look gorgeous.
Oh my gosh.
The ones I've heard sounded fantastic. So
there's a question. Yeah.
Is there any now, as far as playing music on these things, like, is there any preferred music? Does certain music sound better?
No. I mean, like I said, I'm before we actually went live, I listened to just about every type of music, and that's the one thing that drew me to the Sonus Fabers, because it's a very, very well-rounded speaker. And
which ones do you have behind you? I forget what it was called.
These are the Olimpica Nova 3, which I think are the same ones that's sitting next to Paolo. And just a phenomenal loudspeaker. So it's a 3-way loudspeaker, has 2 woofers. Same thing, damped apex dome tweeter that we talked about earlier. So all the same core technologies that are in that. Like I said, we just came out with a brand new generation of that product called the Olimpica Nova. That was just debuted last year.
I love how you integrated that 12-inch woofer in the bottom. Just the style. It's like, oh my goodness, man, that's
great
incredible. Because at first I saw the bottom and I was like,
suspended with a bowstring, which is really cool. So basically, there's a 0 vibration transmission system that we implemented with that design. Which is really unique. So you saw at the bottom, there's like more or less that bow.
Yeah.
And the 12-inch sub is actually mounted there. But the whole idea behind that bowspring is to essentially, it's almost like a skyscraper. where it has the mechanical system
like
that if
some
there's an
give.
earthquake, it will more or less sway. So it basically
Nice.
removes the environment from the speaker itself.
Mercy.
And again, that's technology that was trickled down.
Nice.
So that's like
something
an
that Paolo worked on,
internal decoupling, almost.
more or less. Yeah.
Well, not exactly. It's just basically avoiding the transmission of certain vibration from the speakers to the environment.
Okay. Yeah, very cool, man. Very cool. And we have a serious comment here. You know, I think everybody in the room should take note.
I'm down. I'll even review the lower ones, man. They're just fantastic.
So
I've only had the opportunity maybe once or twice to hear them. But they're beautiful. But it's been many years.
quick question about your philosophy, and you don't have to give away your secret sauce, but your philosophy on the sound signature. What is the sound signature that your target sound signature? Maybe something different that you're
Great
looking
question.
for. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, this is another complicated question.
Complicated question.
It's all
Thank you for
complicated.
asking.
Man.
Basically, we are simple answer. Long story short, we are trying to understand and to investigate how much our human hearing apparatus works, and we try to couple best that we can with the very special way our human hearing apparatus works.
Mhm.
Maybe you're not aware about that, but we are more sensitive at certain frequencies than others.
Mhm.
And also this difference in sensitivity, frequency-wise, changes in reason of the amount of sound pressure level applied. So it's kind of a mess. Basically, we investigated the way our hearing apparatus works at the sound pressure levels, which are the typical ones when you're listening to decent, neighbor-friendly volume up to quite noisy, party sort of thing volume. And we sort of target the behavior of our hearing apparatus in this range of sound pressure level. And it is normally about lowering certain range of frequencies in level and boosting some others, the top and bottom of the frequency response, basically. It's a
Okay.
little bit more complicated than this, but
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think I have an idea what you're saying here, and I've never heard somebody refer to my ears as hearing apparatus. So thank you.
You can start
Yeah.
using that. Starting
Yeah,
today,
yeah.
if you like.
I love how Paolo's so honest. He's like, it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
You know, like we got a lot of stuff to deal with. That's
yeah,
great.
exactly. That's the point. At the end of the day, the philosophy I want you to live with is that we try to address human beings instead of technical data or technical scientific targets, right? That's what we try to do.
Nice.
Got it.
Kind of going back to what you said, that human factor. You know,
Yeah,
Exactly.
human factor.
Exactly.
that's like
You nailed it.
super important in,
It's very
the
important.
design philosophy of Sonus Faber. Very
Exactly.
cool.
There was one question that I think might be appropriate for Livio, because I saw a social post from you not that long ago, but it was about the classic violin red. Is the classic violin red going to come back? That's one of the questions that somebody asked.
Ooh.
Yes.
You heard it here first.
Hey.
Yes.
You heard it here first. That's an exclusive.
Another
Yeah.
Hi-Fi Summit exclusive.
Mhm.
Yes, it will go back. It will came back. The interesting story was that when I approached Sonus Faber, the company was about to launch the Sonus Faber. Fenice was called at that time. And the boss at that time wanted to have something really new also in the finishing. So they decided to basically change from the violin red to more deeper red that was based on walnut wood. I love that finish. I really love that finish, but I heard in my career at Sonus Faber a lot of requests of the original violin red, especially related to the Stradivari and the original Amati. So yes, we always thought to reintroduce that, but the problem was that it's that violin red is made on a different wood, is maple based. So there is a different structure in the panel to create that special red violin. So yes, we will do it in the very near future with a special edition product that you will see pretty soon on the market.
Super cool. Any
Awesome.
powered
Very
speakers in the making?
Well, you got enough in the family there.
I know, right? McIntosh powered Sonus Faber
Look,
built
they're all
in
quiet.
thing.
That is hilarious.
You gotta
Like,
buy.
take that for
We can neither confirm nor deny.
take that for what it's worth.
There is a lot of noise inside the group about this topic. Let me say.
Cool. Good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because,
It's a category of interest. Let's just put it that way.
I mean,
Cool.
you
Very
guys
cool.
are all you guys, all you speaker manufacturers are making me think like I need an 11-bedroom house. I need a Sonus Faber
Yep.
McIntosh room. I need a McIntosh Focal room. I need, like the list goes on and on. There's just too many amazing options out there. So
Yeah.
thanks.
Very cool. Very cool.
There's one last question that I would
Yeah,
love
go.
for us to touch on.
Go for it.
So do you suggest adding subwoofers to your larger tower speakers?
Good
Or do
question.
the 12-inch integrated subs take care of everything? So even with our reference loudspeakers, they're asking, or even just any of our loudspeakers, what is your thoughts, your feelings about the addition of subwoofers? Either of you guys can address this question. Who wants to take it?
I take it.
There you go.
He says, "Bring it
Go ahead,
on,
Paolo.
bring it
Take
on."
The problem and the answer is yes. Absolutely, it deserves.
I like that.
Yep, it absolutely deserves to be a subwoofer to be added to whatever system you're dealing with, even with our reference one. And the explanation is quite interesting enough, I would say, because at the end of the day, when you're adding a subwoofer to such an already high-performing speakers, what you're actually doing is trying to reproduce, not to enhance the bass, but instead you're trying to reproduce the reverberation, the sort of fashion of
The room, the reproduction of the room.
recording situation.
Yeah.
So you're trying to introduce the same amount of air movement available in the real recording situation. And while doing that, you will find that whatever it is reproduced from the musical standpoint is sort of placed in a background. Because, everything is breathing. Everything is resonating like the event where the performance was recorded is resonating. And this is why it is worth to add a subwoofer system. Even to...
And I was going to say, I can even chime in on that, because I had a demonstration that the first demonstration I had of why subwoofers with a stereo listening system, even when it's a full range loudspeaker, it was actually a recording that had no bass in it at all. And what it was basically a solo piccolo in a large recording hall. It might have been a church. And the piccolo, I mean, it sounded amazing, and you can still hear a bit of the room, but once you introduce the subwoofer, what happened is that the sound stage, the mid-range, everything just opened up. It got bigger because what it was doing, it was actually reproducing the SPL of the room itself. And like what Paolo said, it's that reverberation. It's actually reproducing the sound of the space in which that piccolo was recorded, even though, because every single recording, when it's in a room, you're actually picking up those low frequencies of the room itself when something is recorded. So that was one of the first times I got a really amazing demonstration of why subwoofers.
If you listen to the track At Last by Etta James, old recording, right? And there are issues with the recording this is a test that I do. And for a lot of people, they don't expect it. So I'll listen to it on their systems, but it's kind of a trick, because what ends up happening is there's some rustling and you can kind of hear some rumbling on the mic. So there's really low frequency energy that they probably didn't even want that in the recording. But unless you have some good subs, you wouldn't even notice that that's there.
Yeah.
Right? And if your subs are turned up too much, it's too obvious, right? So
so our focus is when you're integrating a sub, and what you see with our new Gravis subwoofers is that there's a a low high level connector. So therefore you can actually match it to the binding post of the amplifier itself. So therefore there's an LFE connector and there's also the high level connection. So you're getting the exact same frequency response, getting the exact same bass response that the speaker is receiving as a subwoofer, and then you blend that sub to where it's almost inaudible. So there's the two Gravis subwoofers.
Yeah, I was
so the
checking
Gravis
that out.
6 and the Gravis
That's sweet.
Yeah, so but that's the goal, is to try to blend the subwoofer with the speaker, the crossover point, to where it's indistinguishable, but you can get that full range bass response, and you could also reproduce the room in which it was recorded in. Let's see if there's anything else, guys.
This setup on screen here looks pretty sexy. I don't know about you guys, but
that's the homage collection that Livio was showing us the
earlier,
design concepts for, and then the Gravis subwoofers are in conjunction with those, but then also can work all the way up with the AIDA. So it's designed to work with our reference loudspeakers as well.
Very nice.
Well, guys, this has been fantastic. That's for sure. I think the comments speak for themselves. They've definitely really enjoyed it.
Well, I hope you make sales for you. If somebody's gonna buy some of these, let them know
where to go.
You heard about it at the Hi-Fi Summit.
Yeah, you let them know. Very cool.
Awesome. There was one last question that I've seen twice. Somebody's asking about our stealth reflex porting on the Nova series, which is very similar to what was on our previous Olympica series. Yeah, the Nova venting. There it is. Which one of you guys want to touch on our stealth reflex system?
Let me say just something about that, because was a nice project also, the Olympica for me and Paolo, and we actually fight for that project a lot. But again, I think that reflex port is the demonstration that natural shapes always works better than artificial, let me say, squared boxes. The idea around the Olympica reflex port was to create the reflex port not like just an opening, but as a part of the structure. So if you look at the top of the structure of the Olympica speakers, you will notice that it's something really natural is going around the shape of the speaker, and the reflex port is just part of that design. And it's really important for me to underline that, because this is the perfect example to explain that good design must follow the function always.
Gotcha.
What can we say?
Man, that's a great way to end it.
That was it. Lots of good lines that we could take from this seminar. I could just quote all.
This is what happened. This is what happens when you speak to the Italians.
Yeah, I know. Everything's just beautiful.
Everything's beautiful.
Very nice.
But yeah, so I did see some comments of where you can demonstrate these, where you can get a good demo for Sonus Faber. Again, guys, if you visit our website on sonusfaber.com, there's an area up in the right-hand corner, dealer locator. Put in your zip code and support your local dealers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, or gentlemen and gentlemen, day 3 of the Hi-Fi Summit continues. We're going to have a little bit of a break, and I believe we've got Cherry amplifiers at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard and 5 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you tune in for that. And I'll be jumping into the group video chat. I'm not sure about these guys, but I got some lunch where we can hang out and chat and talk about all the gorgeous stuff we just saw from Sonus Faber and everything. Hey, it'd
be great to have the companies in the group chat, actually, in the group video chat, just so
that would be
the people who are attendees, you can actually do this, but with them and just talk to them, answer questions, things like that. That would be great.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Be awesome. Thank you, Paolo and Livio, for flying in from Italy for this. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
hang
having
around
us.
at the end.
Yeah. Don't just jump out. Somebody did that last time around. But yeah, all the attendees, we'll see you in the group video chat in just a few minutes. Bye.